Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, with your permission, shall we start?
Yes, please.
Thank you, sir. Ellarigu namaskara. Good afternoon, everybody. I welcome you to this RGUHS Eco India Zoom platform webinar conducted by Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences, Karnataka. This is the 15th program in the ongoing series in the second wave. On behalf of all the participants, I thank Dr. Ravish for accepting to lecture in this webinar program, and thank the Honorable Vice Chancellor and the Registrar for supporting us in conducting this program. I request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. S. Satyanandan, sir, to kindly provide his opening remarks. Sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's a very nice afternoon today on the occasion of the Foundation Day of Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences. Today is the 26th Foundation Day of RGUHS, and what a memorable day it is. RGUHS has just completed 25 years of its existence yesterday, and today is the beginning of the 26th year. And so we always celebrate this day, 1st June, every year as the Foundation Day. So I wish all the audience, very happy Foundation Day of RGUHS, and I welcome all of you for this function, for this CME program. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. B.N. Ravish, Professor in the Department of Psychiatry, Mysore Medical College, who was also former Director of Demands at Dharwad, who has accepted this topic to speak on the topic, preventing burnout among healthcare workers during COVID. As you all know, COVID, we are now living with COVID for the past 15 months, and the whole healthcare workers, that is including doctors, nurses, allied health science specialists, and many other people, either directly or indirectly, are now involved in COVID work. I think the word COVID is the most used word in our life now. Every day, I think all of us use this word day in and day out many times. And COVID, Corona, and SARS-CoV-2, these are the words that we keep talking about. And words like quarantine, words like isolation, containment zone, these are all come to the forefront. And rightly so, because all the doctors who are involved, all the nurses who are involved in this program are day in and day out working either in the hospitals or in the field or in the medical colleges. And over a period of time, when you're doing the same work without any change of work, a change of place, monotony sets in. This monotony also leads to boredom. And probably, if there is not much of a response, or if there is some, if they see a lot of suffering around, a lot of deaths around, that will also have a bearing on the mind. And people will start feeling depressed, disgusted. And if there is no change of place and change of work, that also leads to a lot of monotony and boredom. And gradually that becomes exaggerated into burnout. So I feel we need to plan, we need to utilize our human resources in a very judicious way, the way that they should get breaks in between. They should be given adequate rest, both physical and mental rest. They should come back after a period of time. So all these are important. I'm sure Dr. Ravish would address all these issues. And I see that burnout is already setting in our healthcare professionals. There was a period of lull between the first and second wave, during which time there was not much of stress and strain. Our healthcare professionals could recover, but the beginning of second wave and the last 2 months is again, it is our doctors and nurses and allied health sciences are overworked, stressed, overburdened, and it leads to a lot of mental strain and stress. So how do we address this? What are the ways and means in which we can keep ourselves active, and how we overcome these issues and then still continue to work is what Dr. Ravish, as a psychiatrist, would be able to give us a lot of solutions on this issue. And without much ado, I request Dr. Ravish to carry on with this lecture. And I welcome all the audience who have joined today. for this very important topic of how to prevent burnout amongst healthcare professionals. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Ravesh, for accepting our invitation.
A very good afternoon to all of you. At the outset, I would like to thank the Vice Chancellor of Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences on this wonderful occasion of completing 25 years. And with his able team, he's been able to initiate this teaching programs to instill hope and motivation among healthcare workers. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Are you all able to see the slide?
Yes, sir. It is
Okay.
visible.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, yes.
So as Honorable Vice Chancellor was mentioning, the second wave of Corona has really taken the toll. And if people understood to keep the life simple with a healthy body and healthy mind, things would have been really under control. But in the circle of life, nature itself gives us a lot of challenges, and life without challenge has no meaning. I would like to start with this wonderful video clipping from last century, where Charlie Chaplin acting in the movie called Modern Times at that time, just to make you grounded. Yes, the world has gone crazy with the term COVID or Corona, and more so with the healthcare providers. And quite often we become dejected, and then our conscience tells us that, okay, we are healthcare providers, okay, we are not supposed to get drained with our motivation. But let me tell you, before we are healthcare workers, we are all human beings. And as a common human being, it's okay if we are not okay, okay? Because we need to suffer the same. Just because we are healthcare workers, we are not immune to any diseases. I tell this because of my personal experience. It's 25 years since I work as a psychiatrist. And in my experience, doctors are the worst patients. In fact, I should expand that and say the healthcare workers are the worst patients. I usually get really scared to treat them because they have the knowledge and then they try to not follow as a patient. Yes, why this infectious disease outbreak has posed so much of challenges? Because our healthcare system has been overburdened. There is a surge of care for the demand. Not only that, there is increased healthcare personnel themselves getting sick, or there are many incidences we have lost our healthcare fraternity, near and dear ones. I think in this second wave, I'm sure each one of us would have either lost a family or someone close to us. The ongoing risk of infection, every day when we go to the work, we always think, what will happen to me? Will my family or friend or others in the work will infect me? And wearing PPE, as you all know, is not a comfortable job. Okay, and that too working continuously for 6 to 7 hours. It limits our mobility. It limits the communication. Okay, most of the time, okay, I have seen doctors continuously working for 2 weeks without even able to meet their family face to face. Not only that, quite often we will be using these kind of equipments unnecessarily also because of kind of defensive mechanism, scared whether it will infect or will be the source of infection. Now, in a regular period as healthcare workers, we were supported by the family member of the patient. So one kin of the family, okay, or the patient would be at the dispense of other activities of taking care of the patient. But now only patient himself is present, and we have to take care of his regular needs, nature call, everything. So it's been a difficult task for the healthcare workers. And of course, when you have stepped into the profession of healthcare, there is a lot of passion in you, and you feel that rewarding sense. But quite often, it doesn't limit there. Many of us experience the fear, grief, frustration, guilt, insomnia, and finally the exhaustion. So these pictures have been quite common that we have seen in the hospital settings. My presentation, until now, I just wanted you to settle down because postprandial session, 3 o'clock, and that too during this summer. Okay, so wanted you to just get grounded and then understand how would I like to take you during this presentation. Disclosure, evolution of the concept of burnout, extent of the problem, causes, symptoms, consequences, prevention and treatment, and finally to sum up. So, as you all know, there's no conflict of interest. If suppose during my presentation I use anything, any terminology that hurts you, I apologize in beforehand, because true words are not always pretty and pretty words are not always true. See, the concept of burnout has recently stepped in. Now, it was first described by a German psychologist, Herbert Freudenberger, in 1974. And DSM-4 and ICD-9 never had the terminology of burnout. The closest in DSM-4 was acculturation problems. Okay. So because of the newer developments in the medical field, okay, the culture started changing, probably with the invent of better antibiotics, okay, better equipments. So that's how when we started moving, okay, towards more of this information technology and other innovations. So the ICD-9, the closest diagnosis was that of other problems related to the lifestyle. So you can know when exactly the lifestyle related problems started. Okay, somewhere during 1960s, okay, post Second World War, all the inventions started happening. So only in ICD-10, the terminology called burnout, okay, a state of vital exhaustion, okay. The vital signs, I mean, for a common general practitioner means pulse, BP, okay, heart rate, and then respiration, okay. So, but there are vital symptoms as far as psychological symptoms are also concerned, which we will try to understand in the later part. The extent of problem, why doctors are more prone, okay. See, we have a study, okay, original research from state of Maharashtra, by Dr. Ruchira Kanse and colleagues. Okay, so it mentions about a burnout of 44%. Okay, and 26.9% was related to work related, that is healthcare providing job. Female respondents had higher prevalence. That means to say most of our nurses, okay, tend to have higher prevalence of burnout. See, if you take up the professions as such, okay, most frequently burnout is seen in those who work intensely, okay, with people, okay, physicians, nurses, social workers, and then in teachers. Okay, see, nowadays doing an online class has been such a pain for teaching faculty as well. So if we compare this amount of prevalence with the international figure, they report somewhere around 30% of frontline workers having burnout during this pandemic. And in this month of June, we are having International Yoga Day, and 70% of people internationally said that meditation, not medication, meditation could help decrease work-related stress. So unless you understand how this burnout happens, because it doesn't happen overnight. So if you identify, if you can prevent, definitely it helps the whole society and the profession. I know all your mics have been muted, but I request you to please slowly read the definition. Please read the definition slowly, because this is a comprehensive definition. In 2007, burnout is a condition that evolves slowly, over a period of prolonged stress. Please understand. I'll come to the terminology stress. What stress means also I will explain. So it's a slowly evolving over a period of prolonged stress. It wears down and wears out energy exhaustion due to excessive demands. Excessive demands, which may be either self-imposed or externally imposed by families, job, friends, value system, or society. You know, in a culturally driven society like ours, how much society expects from the doctor. So this depletes one's energy, coping mechanism, and internal resources. It leads to a feeling state that is accompanied by overload of stress and eventually impacts one's motivation, attitude, and behavior. If you have to do any work, see, most of the time, for example, a student comes, I put in so much of effort, but when I sit in the exam, I can't remember. When I sit in front of the examiner in the Viva, I just become blank. These are common complaints where our medical students come and tell me. If you learn, with good motivation and good concentration, your memory will definitely be intact. And second thing is your internal expectations, when you sit in front of the examiner. So that's the reason, nowadays burnout has become because the job, the society, your family members, they all demand, from you so much. And as doctors, you have to be all the time on your toes. High performing, one of the high performing jobs. So what is the triad? It's basically exhaustion, inefficiency, and cynicism. So once you burn out, you start complaining about the system. How much ever you do, we work in such a system which is not cooperative, which is not understanding. Okay. So such kind of comments will come. The other way to explain it is, see, depersonalization, meaning you lose empathy. Okay. You start disconnecting. Okay. Emotional exhaustion. And then that sense of not achieving what your goals are. Okay. So this is the effect of burnout. Unfortunately, we don't have any special technology of filtering out the criticism and then only amplifying the compliments. So the only way is you become habituated. Okay. You become kind of an vaccination, okay, yourself to these kind of demands. Okay. I think there is a lot of lesson that this COVID second wave has taught us. I mean, in fact, the COVID entirely has taught us as society in a whole, okay, not just pertaining to healthcare professional. So if we talk about the nurses burnout, okay, please understand, because doctors, they come, do the rounds, okay, give the treatment plan, but it's the nurse who will be with the patient for most of the time. And if nurses burn out, there are more infections. Okay. So nurses burnout is correlated with increased risk of infection in the patients, which is highly detrimental in this kind of highly contagious pandemic. Lower ratings as far as patient satisfaction is concerned. And what is more important is increased mortality. 7% increased risk of patient mortality when nurses tend to have more than 4 patients. And imagine in our setup, okay, the way our nursing faculty have been handling things. Okay, not only nursing, even the duty doctors and then the helping staff, everyone are really putting their sincere best of their efforts to get out of this second wave. That's the reason. Okay, the key feature is the healthcare system means it's a system where a supportive, effective teamwork can improve the quality of patient care, enhance the patient safety, reduce workload, okay? So thereby reducing the burden on the healthcare professional. Now, what are the causes? I'm sure most of you would have just known about this. See, what is a stress? When there is a demand and when you can't cope, okay? When there is a discrepancy between your demand and coping, that becomes stress. So for example, if you have at your home, okay, a capability of cooking for 5 people, and if you have 50 people coming, definitely you'll be stressed out. So just don't think that all the time you have to be professional. Okay, you have a personal life too. So stresses can be outside of the doctor-patient or nurse-patient relationship also. So keep it in mind. So how to balance between your personal and professional life also makes you a better healthcare provider. And currently, okay, with this vulturous media, I'm telling you, with the vulturous media, which will be waiting, okay, to point out only the wrongs, okay? So there is increasing litigious nature within the patient community and unforgiving environment, okay? So bureaucratic requirements imposed upon us. Of course, this is a very new viral infection, so everybody are uncertain. So the protocols, the SOPs keep changing, and then you have to keep updating. Okay, so this kind of uncertainty also makes you quite stressful. And in a country like ours, we know, okay, healthcare resources, particularly in the disaster management, is quite limited, and it exposed quite a lot what needs to be done. Okay, all these are some of the causes. Not only that, okay, quite often you feel that, okay, you have made some mistake. Okay, that's the reason you have been suffering. Yes, okay, not only internal, but also external factors do play a role. But having got the burnout, if you don't come out of it, then it becomes your fault. Protecting yourself is your primary responsibility. Okay. There will be onus on the employer, but still it will be a fault if you don't prevent yourself getting into this kind of a burnout. Please understand, this is not an indicator of any failure or weakness. Okay. Even a lion takes few steps back. So we are all finally, okay, understandably human beings. Quite often it stems from the job for a healthcare provider. And if, okay, with a different kind of mindset in public sector and private sector, the private sector becoming more and more corporate mindset, and then the public sector having a lot of human resource deficiency. So internally, they have their own difficulties. The other factors are lifestyle related and personality traits. You all know that type A personality is more vulnerable for ischemic heart diseases. Okay, people who doesn't do physical activity, who smoke. Okay, so the sedentary lifestyle, all those things. So definitely that's one of the predisposing factors for getting stressed and then eventually ending up with a burnout. Now there are stages of becoming burnt out. So don't think that, as I was mentioning, it's an overnight journey. Usually in the beginning, when you are given a responsibility, quite often we think that taking responsibility is a very fashionable thing, but that's also quite stressful. Of course, it's called a eustress, but still, okay. In the initial period, you have satisfaction and high commitment with a lot of creative ideas. But as it goes on, some days become more, okay, dragging on, pulling, okay, stressful. And once it becomes chronic, okay, you feel powerless and unfulfilled. When you have less decision-making capacity, but the demand is high, okay, then the stress becomes quite inevitable. After the chronic stress, you get into the crisis. Okay, quite often we see this escapist mentality during that period, okay, trying to dump on the colleagues. That's where the conflict starts happening. And Kannadadalli ಹೇಳ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡೋರ್ಗೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಅಂತ. So such kind of environment starts, and then it becomes tilted, and finally you get burnt out. Okay, when it is burnt out, okay, you need to understand what it is between a stress and a burnt out phenomena. So I just shown you a nurse, okay, being tired all the time, okay, where your physical parameters are normal. Okay, so I've seen nurses getting thyroid function test done, okay, complete blood picture, everything normal, but feel very tired, sleepless nights, aches and pains which can't be explained on neurological basis. Okay, high amount of anxiety because the demands are not fulfilled, and every day it goes on piling up. Okay, your work goes on piling up, and you tend to eat more to cut down the stress. Okay, and particularly you eat junk food, which makes your taste buds quite stimulated, so you tend to eat. Okay, inability to keep things in the correct manner, easily irritable, anger at the work, and finally getting into depression. So this is the curve. Okay, so the left side shows the performance level and the right axis shows the level of stress. So if you are calm, okay, with less amount of work, don't think you'll be satisfied. You get bored easily. Okay, if you remain as a laid back person, okay, you need to work optimally. There has to be some amount of optimal challenge so that it keeps taking you forward. That's the reason, okay, there are many people who just, spend time talking, okay, without doing much action, okay, they become bored out. So you have to, and this optimal stress, okay, it depends on the individual, okay. So some have higher capacity, okay. So don't compare yourself. So you may be having some other pressing job, okay, but depending on that, you need to, whether you want to completely involve in healthcare. I'm talking about private sector. Once you are in government, I don't think you can escape. So you need to, whether you want to partly be in the profession and then take care of your domestic demands, okay, it depends on you. But once you are committed, you got to maintain that optimum level of working condition. If it becomes overwhelmed, then you start feeling exhausted. Okay, then you become burnt out, and then finally a diagnosis of depressive episode will be made. Are you all with me? Or you are all sleeping? Hello?
All are muted, sir.
Yeah, fine. Okay, fine. I just don't want them to, okay,
Yes.
doze off. Fine. So thinking that you are with me until now, so the next one is understanding what is the difference between stress and burnt out. Okay. Stress is something comes acutely. Okay. Burnt out is something chronically. So stress characterized by over involvement, over engagement. But once you are burnt out, you start disengaging, you start escaping. Okay. You start feeling totally fatigued, exhausted. Okay. Stress results in a loss of energy. Burnt out results in a loss of motivation. Stress primarily takes a physical toll. That's why, since it's only a physical toll, if you sleep well, take rest, the stress goes off. Okay. There is stress related headache. Okay. You may take either rest or you may take a simple dolo. Okay. Take a break, go for a movie. I mean, of course, not now. Then the stress goes off. But in burnt out period, primarily takes on the emotional toil. So when it's emotional toil, you have to use different strategy, not just by sleeping, not just by taking some rest. Rest doesn't mean sleeping. Please understand this. Active way of taking rest is entirely different, which I will show you with a small video clip suggested by World Health Organization. Please understand the last line. Burnt out is the accumulation of unchecked stress over long period. You can have stress without burnt out, but you cannot have burnt out without stress. So unchecked stress will definitely lead to burnt out. So once again, I'm stressing on it, emphasizing on it. Excessive and prolonged stress will lead to overwhelming, emotionally drained, and unable to meet the constant demands. Because anything in excess can lead to any other phase directly. It doesn't have to go step by step. Don't expect this to happen in just like what the textbook mentioned. Okay. In reality, things are different. So you begin to lose interest and motivation. Okay, it reduces the productivity, saps away your energy, increased feeling of helpless, hopeless, cynical, and resentful. Once you are in this period, that means you have become depressed. Okay, nothing more to give to the society or to the family. Okay, so then it spills not only in your work, in your personal life, in your relationship, interpersonal relationship, and in every other activity. So what are the consequences because of this? So in the patient care, it definitely lowers the care, increased medical errors. Okay, that's why I remember Dr. Dayanand, who is a preventive and social medicine specialist. Accidents are also preventable. Okay, so if you can handle your stress very well, so patient take more time to recover and lower patient satisfaction, how much ever you do. That's the reason most of the time what happens is, because of some minor medical errors or communication errors, so you see patient and patient attenders becoming more violent physically and abusive towards the healthcare providers because of this. And in the healthcare system, there will be a lot of turnover of staff members because of this. Less productivity of the healthcare provider and increased cost. Not only that, it affects the individual healthcare worker, physician's health. He gets into substance abuse. When you don't have a proper adaptive strategy, you get into maladaptive strategy. Okay, substance abuse, a lot of suicide has happened, and within healthcare professionals, certain specialists are more vulnerable for suicide. I don't want to openly discuss in such a forum. Poor self-care and then motor vehicle accidents. Okay, so all these things happen because of this psychological, emotionally burnt out. So stress management clinic, sorry, closed due to burnt out. You can't do like that. Okay, and I'll tell you, sometimes when I say I'm not feeling like doing the work today, I feel like taking a break. They say you're a psychiatrist, you have to overcome all this. But I say I'm a human being first. So please assert yourself. When it is a no, it is a no, because no is not a word, it's a sentence. So this is an important slide for you to understand how to prevent burnt out. See, you all have heard a saying, prevention is better than cure. That was in the last century, during Charlie Chaplin times. In the modern times, with the expenses in the healthcare provision, I'm sure we can't afford. Okay. So nowadays it's called prevention is cure. Okay. I say this even to getting COVID infection. Okay. If you can primarily prevent it, nothing like that. So most of the time, we healthcare professionals are in a denial stage. I'm a very strong person. How can I feel this? How can I be stressful? I'm a jovial person. Okay. So denial is one of the primary psychological defense mechanisms. Let us first accept that we too are vulnerable for all the diseases. Okay. First, accept the problem. Once you accept, 50% of the issue is tackled. Second thing is avoid isolation, both physical and psychological isolation. Be connected. Okay. Be connected. See, some people, that's why in Kannada, there's a difference between Vantitana and Ekanta. Ekanta is you are alone, but you are introspecting. You are trying to remobilize yourself. Okay, but loneliness is a psychological feeling of discomfort. So avoid isolation, always be connected with somebody. Okay. Have a pet, have a friend. Okay. Connect with the nature also. You don't have to all the time be with the friends, be with a group. Reduce the intensity in your life. Okay. Okay. Take it easy policy. Okay. That doesn't mean when you are in a emergency care, you can't have a laid back phenomena. What I mean to say is prioritize. Okay. Prioritize. Don't have the same pace all through. Okay. Don't be all the time on your toes. Yeah, that's what. Pace yourself. Minimize worrying. This is like our Hanumantan Bala. Okay. Our requirements will never end. And see, during this 1.5 years, okay, what are our requirements? When the lockdown came, nobody went and stood in front of car showrooms, neither jewelry shops. We all went back to the basics of life. So understand and strengthen your basics of life. Minimize worrying. Take care of your physical needs, because that's what I told you. Healthy body, healthy mind, happy life. So if your expectations are simple, if your demands are simple, your life problems also will be simple. Okay, if your expectations are complex, complicated, your difficulties are also quite complicated. Nurture yourself more than others. That doesn't mean I'm telling you to become selfish. See, when you travel by air, okay, I'm sure the air hostess would be giving you the instruction when, in case of emergency, when the oxygen mask falls down, you need to first put the mask and then help your child or others. That is what I mean by this. Nurture yourself more than others. If you take care, because when you become a healthcare professional, it's a selfless job. Of course, some people say thankless job. I don't fully agree with that, but it's a selfless job. You need to first take care of yourself, then only you can take care of somebody else. If you are stable, you can support somebody, isn't it? Take a close look at what your work means to you. That means to say the purpose and goal of having chosen this healthcare profession in your life. Okay. So these are all different steps of preventing burnt out. Now I'll just show you a small video clipping, 45 seconds. Okay. First, just listen to it and then I will brief you. By the time you would have realized what's going on, the video clipping would have finished. So I want to play it again and then give a running in the background. See, it started with the buzz. Okay. There's a lot of noise usually. Then you have to straighten things. Okay. When you know there is some kind of a red sign that you are getting stressed out, what it showed, take a deep breath and then leave it slowly. It's called Sukha Pranayama, isn't it? So I usually suggest 4D technique. Okay. Distract yourself, distract. Of course, you can't all the time get distracted and then defocus and come back to work. Okay. Distraction for a productive, for a relaxing technique. Okay. Distract yourself, delay. Okay. Whatever you're doing, delay that. Okay. So that you can come out of that worry cycle. Third thing is deep breathing. Fourth thing is drink water. Water is elixir of life. Okay, take your breath, drink water, okay, distract, and then get back. And what it shows your 5, okay, senses to be equally used. What we do nowadays, we are exposed to our visual stimulus. Screen exposure time is so much. Okay, that's the reason I say listen, okay, feel, and don't just eat junk food. Okay, eat some good food, Indian spices. So get back to it. We are feeling overwhelmed. It's buzzing, making a noise. Okay. Notice what you're thinking. Birds are chirping. Okay. Slow and deep breaths will definitely slow down. Connect with your body and with the nature. Okay. Refocus on the surrounding. Sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. Okay. So if you have the habit of going for a walk, okay, or doing some physical activity, please persist on that. Continue that. So at the individual level, we suggest 3R technique. What is that? Recognize, watch for the warning signs. Okay. If once in a while, if you don't get sleep, fine. But if the insomnia persists, then something you need to worry about. And most of the time, what happens is healthcare workers have access to sleeping tablets. Please be careful. Don't self-medicate. Okay, never self-treat yourself. Reverse. Undo the damage by seeking support and managing the stress. Resilience. Okay, nowadays, we have so much low frustration tolerance that we all get easily broken down, particularly the younger generation. Okay, they just can't take failure. All the time they have to succeed. In fact, they consider failure as something different. Failure is part of success. Okay, so please don't discriminate. Okay, many a time people keep on telling that keep feeling positive, keep feeling positive. There can't be positive without a negative. There can't be a height without a depth. Okay, there can't be a sunshine without a night. So that kind of resilience, okay, bouncing back, okay, fighting back, needs to be inculcated in the modern healthcare, education, and lifestyle. So there is something called herd immunity, meaning a good habit, okay, resilience building strategies. Nowadays, the curriculum for teaching the medical students is changing. It is competence based. Okay. So when I say herd immunity, it's not just the chemical vaccination that people are talking about, but a cultural change. Okay. There is something called behavioral vaccine. I had last year also, when the Honorable Vice Chancellor had given me the opportunity to talk about psychological problems during this COVID. Vaccination had not still arrived. Okay. So I was telling during that period, behavioral vaccine was very much important. So we have a terminology called stress inoculation. Learn to handle stress, you become inoculated. So this kind of herd immunity among doctors, something nowadays the teachers have forgotten to teach, okay, in the bedside. I'm telling you, in the bedside. Okay. So if these 3R fails, then you will need the 4th R, that is Pravesh, meaning mental health support. Okay. And don't think that taking a mental health support, okay, you will get labeled, stigmatized. Everyone, okay, maybe some people are fortunate enough to have someone buffering their emotions within their family. Not everyone may not have good family or social support. So that time, if you consult your colleague, so now I'm coming to the intervention, turn to others, Turn to others means not somebody who is not reliable. Okay, somebody who is trustworthy. Okay, with whom you can relate your problems. So social contact is one of the key antidote. Okay, that's why good relations help you. Okay, it's not how much big a house you have, how big a car you have. It's how much people support unconditionally. Please understand this. I give a money and then I get a labor. No. Okay, voluntarily, how much people, okay, are really happy to help you. Okay, matters a lot. I'm not talking about the dosages, what medication to be given. Okay, that's not the idea of this lecture. Okay, that's not what you need to think. Okay, because nowadays everything is available at the fingertips. Please don't go by that. Okay, as I was telling, prevention is cure. And even when it comes to intervention, early intervention, these are all early intervention. So how much ever over the video, phone calls, or these kind of online classes, but still talking face to face with a good listener, what is called as active listening, okay, is one of the fastest way of relieving stresses. Okay, there is this aura, that sense of, feeling. Okay, it's something which the words cannot explain. Okay, so have that kind of a relationship. If you give that, definitely it comes back to you. Okay, someone who will listen attentively without being distracted or judging you. Okay, that's the vital part. Okay, not judging you. Okay, nowadays with such an amount of competition, okay, we are so scared to open up. So develop these kind of interventions. So finally, to sum up, understand the burnout triad: emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and sense of low personal accomplishment. Crossover of work to personal life is very dangerous. Okay, have a line between profession and personal life. Overachievers will end up with underperforming, and we have the current lifestyle is imbalanced response to adversity. Okay, let us be prepared, and willingly or unwillingly, we all get sucked up by this death spiral. That means to say, one turns more inward towards work. We are so much pulled up by the work that we avoid our personal life. Okay, so having a good personal life will make you a good performer in the profession. Do what you like what you do. That doesn't mean you have a freedom free of license. No, freedom comes with a responsibility. Balance and strive for the meaning, purpose, worth of your work and life. Okay, support systems are very key in preventing and combating burnout. Okay, prevention is the main. Okay, that's the key thing. But recognition and treatment of burnout is also very essential and necessary. So let us get back to ourselves and make the country proud. Okay, so thank you very much, and I'll be happy to take up some questions.
Thank you so much,
Dr.
sir.
Ropashri?
Yes, sir.
Okay, proceed with the question answer.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Dayanand, sir. First of all, a very good evening to one and all on this momentous 26th Foundation Day of RGUHS. Thank you, Dr. B.N. Ravi, sir, for addressing this crucial issue in this testing times. This was very much needed, sir. With your permission, I shall take up a few of the things which are there in the chats for your comments and clarifications. So
Yes.
we have here Fatima. She's telling setting up a workplace wellness centers will be a good option to benefit the healthcare workers. Your comments on this?
Yes, ma'am. In our college, we have Student Wellness Center.
Right.
Okay. So I think a lot of institutions might be doing it in an informal way, but bringing it probably by the RGHS in a formal manner will definitely help, and mental health professionals will be very happy to get involved with this wellness program. So that's a very much needed point that probably I request the administrators to kindly take up this.
Right, right, sir. I think, and sir, just to bring it to your notice that we have a lot of participants who have expressed that your talk was very much helpful and it is interesting.
Thank
They are
you.
all with the praise for you rather than any questions. Still, I request any participants, if you have any thing to ask to sir, you can use the hand raise option. Okay. Sir, like as you mentioned in your talk that you have to discuss with among the other persons or anything. The point here, as again you also have mentioned it. So generally they think expressing such feelings will be considered as you know not not able or like that. So how to address this issues?
First thing is, with whom you want to really open up is very important.
Right.
Somebody whom you can trust. Okay, usually your old classmates. It need not be your own profession, but your old classmates. Having a regular kind of a meeting,
Yes.
okay, will definitely help. So
Right.
don't think that it has to be some other doctor or some other health professional. So in that matter, even your if you have a good cousin or a relative, okay, they can also be helpful. And the best thing is if you have a very understanding spouse, okay, most of your burden. That's why people say behind every successful, okay, it shouldn't be man, even woman also. Okay, the spouse is quite important.
Right, sir. Right, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And like uh, as you said, we are exposed to a lot of screen time, and
Yes.
it has become like an addiction. Like even if you want to come out of that, it's not able to come out of it. Like how to go about it?
Yeah, that's a good point, ma'am. When I told 4Ds, so the one of the things was delay. So most of the time we get the urge that have we received the message, okay, WhatsApp, or
Yes, yes.
before sleeping, we want to just check WhatsApp messages or
Every 5
emails.
minutes you have to check.
Yeah.
It has become.
So when I said delay, please delay that. Okay. Number one. Second thing is distract. Okay. Distract with some other, okay, productive activity. And evening times, if you just sit on your terrace or, okay, sit outside in the park, okay, just watching at the skies, clouds, birds. I do it. Okay. When I say I really do it. So if suddenly, if you just have an aquarium, okay, keep observing the fish, okay, definitely you get distracted. And then deep breathing is something easy. Drink water, okay. These are the 4Ds that I strongly suggest.
Right, sir. Right, sir. Thank you so much. Gautam, do we have any hand raise options?
Yes, madam. One participant
Yes.
hand is.
Yeah, please allow him to talk to sir.
Yes, madam. Fatima, yes, please.
Yeah.
Yes, madam.
So very good afternoon. This is Fatima De Silva, Dean of Nursing College at Nitte Usha Institute of Nursing Sciences. I just wanted to know, like during this COVID pandemic, there's a lot of fear among the healthcare professionals, especially the students who are being posted in the hospitals. the fear of contracting the disease. And many a times we are left helpless in answering their questions or overcoming their fears. What would be the best way to deal in such situation?
Okay, ma'am, we all know this COVID can be prevented by SMS, sanitizer, or keep cleaning the hand hygiene. Second thing is wearing the mask, wearing suitable mask. I have seen some people wearing, okay, their dupatta, okay, or a mosquito net, honestly. Okay, so wearing a proper mask. And third thing is distancing. It's not actually social distancing, it is physical distancing. You have to be socially connected, but see, these three things are very vital. Then nowadays, all frontline workers have been vaccinated. And we have found out with all the research that is coming in that with vaccination, even someone gets infected, the complications are prevented. Okay. So insist that they get vaccinated and then let them take care of physical health, thereby immunity. Okay. So how to build up immunity? Somebody who is active. Okay. Somebody who takes fresh food, timely fresh food. Somebody who sleeps regularly. Okay. So lifestyle and then vaccination and then this SMS should help. Okay. Otherwise, we are exposed to all kinds of infections in a regular healthcare profession, isn't it? See, when we operate a HIV patient, okay, we are at the same risk, but don't we take precautions? So take precautions. And second thing is improve your immunity. And how does this immunity come? Psycho-neuro-immunology. Keep your mind strong. How to keep mind strong? Eat regular food, sleep regularly, and be connected. Okay, honestly.
Right. Right.
Take precautions. See, you can't be, laid back and then saying that, okay, Corona doesn't affect me. Okay, I've already taken vaccination. No. Necessary precautions has to be taken.
Right. Thank you, madam, for asking that question. And sir, here, sometimes what happens by listening to what you rightly said, this media, even though a person is not depressed, they start feeling like they are really under depression. So how to distinguish this?
You have raised a very vital point, ma'am, because in the guidelines, particularly mental health during COVID period, we have strongly suggested to cut off watching the news channels. Okay, this is in our guidelines. Okay, exposure to news channels has to be drastically reduced. And if you have to listen to the news, it has to be from the responsible and authentic site. Okay, please don't listen to all sorts of rumors. Okay, you have to get information and listen to the news channel which has a responsibility and then takes the direct information from these agencies, government agencies. So I strongly suggest stop watching news channels, particularly Kannada news channels. Mahamari, Raudravatara, okay, ಅದು ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೇನೆ ಭಯಾನಕವಾಗಿದೆ. ಮಾರಣ ಹೋಮ. Okay. I think these are all really mentally disturbing. And 40% population gets disturbed as per our psychological research. And let us not wait for some authority to take action. Ultimately, we are the sufferers. So that's why in our guidelines, right from WHO, exposure to news channels is big no.
Right, 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 sir. Gautam, do we have any other hand raise options?
No, madam.
I hope the
Yes.
participants have understood the concept, because
That's what, sir. Before you could raise this question, I told you we have a lot of comments in our chat box saying that like Smita, Josna, they say that it's very interesting and would like to listen more from you, they are telling.
Oh,
Then
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir.
I should thank the VC and his wonderful team for giving this opportunity.
Yes,
Thanks
Thank
a
you,
lot
sir.
once again.
Thank you, sir. Over to you, Dayanand, sir.
Okay. Sir, VC sir. VC sir, any closing remarks?
No, please continue. It was a
Yes,
wonderful
sir.
talk.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Ravish.
Okay, sir.
It was well appreciated and very wonderful. Nice talk. Thank you, Dr. Ravish.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay, sir. On behalf of the Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences, I thank our Honorable Vice Chancellor and Registrar for giving us the opportunity to conduct this program. And we thank the today's speaker, Dr. Ravish BN, for his excellent and very clear and talk. And he has answered all the questions raised by the participants. And we thank ECHO India for their participation in the program. And we thank the officers of the RGHS, Dr. Bijay Mahendra, Dr. Rupashri, and Kirti and Somshekar for their participation in the program. And we thank all the participants who are participated in this program. Thank you. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Dr. Dayanand.
Thank you.
Can you please put the flyer for the next program?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. It is for the information of the participants that this talk, which is delivered by Dr. Ravish, will be posted in RGHS website and official Rajiv Gandhi University YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can recommend others also to watch and make use of this presentation. So I'm announcing the program or the talk in the series, which will be on 4th June, Friday at 3 o'clock. We have the topic of COVID-19 vaccination, facts and myths. The speakers are Dr. V. Ravi, Nodal Officer for Genomic Confirmation of SARS-CoV-2, former head neurovirology NIMANS, and our Dr. M.K. Sudarshan, sir, Chairman, State COVID-19 Technical Advisory Committee, Government of Karnataka. So I request all of you to make use of this session and please do log in at 3 o'clock on 4th June 2021. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Gautam, you can now close the meeting.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.